Welcome, everyone. We are so pleased to bring forward the Hans Wilhelm, and he is the author and creator of Life Explained. You may have seen his fun videos, cartoon illustrations that share spirituality in such a unique and fun and enlightening way. Hi, Hans. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm delighted to meet you personally and to be on your show. And I'm very excited to see all the topics which maybe we will touch on. So, yes, I am looking forward to this.
You have a whole library of videos. Oh my goodness, you have so many books. You've written over 40 million copies translated into 30 languages. That is remarkable. In the past, you've teamed up with Byron Katie to do children's books. And so you have covered a lot of territory. How did you come into this knowledge and wisdom? What was your awakening journey like? Was it one little thing that happened, or was it little drips along the way?
Well, I was always very critical about the organized religions when I grew up in Germany because they could not explain to me why some people were poor, rich, sick, or whether we had wars and so on. If there was a loving God, then what kind of God would who that be who sends people in such horrific situations? It was only I think in my early 20s when I discovered Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce, of course, teaches reincarnation. I never really thought much about it, but suddenly everything became clear. And I understood also that Christ actually taught reincarnation. And suddenly it makes sense if somebody is rich and poor because it's all related to past lives. And that was really a major step. So I then developed and studied many, many other spiritual paths. And I kept that ongoing. And I wasn't really keeping it. I thought it was a very personal thing because I don't like anybody else trying to convince me about their spiritual or religious religion. So neither do I have the intention or the desire to tell anybody else about what I believe is the right way for me. But it was when my father died, and he didn't believe in life after death. And just before he left this world, I told him that these are the things which probably will happen if I am right, that his consciousness will exist even after the so-called physical death. And he just smiled, and then a few days later he died. And it was 5 years later when I was in the bookstore and a stranger came up to me and says, your father just came through to me. I'm a medium, and I want to tell you that he wants to thank you deeply for what you have told him about life after death, because it has helped him so much to find his way on the other side. And he said, he is now working on the receiving end of souls that have died. And he sees the utter confusion of so many souls when they die, not even aware that they're dead. Would I please make books about this, what I know? And I thought about it, and I thought I will not make more books. I want to reach young people because old dogs are always difficult to train with new ideas, but young people are eager to learn. And when I was young, I also wanted to learn. So I went to YouTube and created these very short videos because the attention span of young people is very short, since then shortened even with TikTok. But they're only 4 to 10 minutes long as an average. And in these videos, I basically show them visually, because I'm also an illustrator, of how it works, how karma works. Somebody does something bad to someone else, it gets registered in his soul, in the Akashic records, in the planets, and then comes back again. So when one sees this here, how it all works, it becomes so much clearer. At least it always does for me. I make this video primarily for myself. So when I read these very intense teachings, which came through a woman in Germany, her name was Gabriele, and all these books on the back are basically all her revelations and writings, then I understand it better. So when I illustrate it for myself and then I share it in a video, and as I said, I shared without any expectations. I don't want to convince anybody that this is the way. I merely present it. I have no intention to convince anybody that this is the only way to believe. Also, there is no organization. There's nothing to join. You don't pay for any of these videos. They're all free. Also on my website, lifeexplained.com. So I do this largely for my own development and learning and sharing it. And those who respond to it, they're welcome to take whatever they wish to take from it. And those who can't handle it or don't like it, that's fine too. That's in a nutshell, Lauren. Did that answer your question?
Wow. Okay. Amazing. So wonderful. So this is your journey of curiosity and simplifying it through illustrations. It's brilliant, actually, because it gives such a simplistic view of it. And so, I mean, with the full library of videos that you have, oh my goodness, there's so many, and it covers so much territory. Again, commendable, commendable. And
Thank
yet
you.
you've got a huge following as well. So that's fascinating. Okay. So I want to go back to your dad then. So your dad smiled at you, and then after he transitioned, I know it was 5 years, and then someone in the store, the bookstore, came up to you. That's just so fascinating. Have you had any dreams about your dad in that time since he left, maybe right after he left or in the years following?
If I may, I will not remember it. We left on very good terms. There was no need, and we accepted his death because he basically killed himself. He had two form of cancers, and he just stopped eating. And all his children, we says this was we respected his desire, and we left on good terms. So I had no need to communicate with him for any reason, and neither does he. But apparently he must have had it to thank me. But I was not in any need and expectations to hear from my father ever again. I mean, when Roland Comtroy, who was this medium, came to me and told me this, I was totally blown away because that's the last person I expected to hear from. But it was nice.
Mm, really fascinating. Okay, I asked that because there's visitations.
Yeah.
Those are not dreams. And I've heard from so many in the dream space after someone passes that that is a real healing experience. And in my own life with my stepfather, that was indeed the case for me. And at first, I didn't want him, right? I didn't expect him to be in my dreams. I thought we were done, but there was such great healing that came from that. All right, so wonderful. But the healing that came for you was his recognizing the teachings that you opened him up to. I think that's just so amazing.
Well, there was
Wonderful.
nothing really to heal. He just informed me. I said there was no negativity between us, but it was just basically kind of him and very helpful to inform him. And what came from it are now these videos. I would definitely never have done these videos had I had not this interaction. So all these videos are
Okay.
basically due to my father's desire to thank me for what I told him.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Awesome. Okay. And you have 20 million views of these videos. And so you've got a large following on YouTube as well, and that's commendable. So as you've gone along in your way and you've done all these videos, what do you think the single most important message is for humanity? I know that's hard to boil it down, but what do you think that single most
Something
important?
which every every wise person has ever said to everyone who says that we have to learn to love. I mean, it's in a nutshell. This is basically, and it sounds so trite, it sounds so overused, it sounds so hallmarky. But, but in the end, that is all we have to do. We have to become who we truly are. We are made out of love, of unconditional, unlimited, selfless love. That is our true essence. And all we have to basically to become that again, what we used to be. we have we have sort of overshadowed ourselves with egoistic kind of desires, wishes, and so on, and we have become less loving and so on over time and incarnation. So our main goal is to become love again. And everybody has a different path to do that, either through forgiveness, it can be through learning to help, learning to love, etc. So everybody has a very different path, but the end goal is to become love again, which means to come into the highest vibration to be attracted again back home to the highest vibration, which is the absolute reality. For as long as we are full of shadows and unloving vibrations, because the whole universe is nothing but vibrations, as long as we are still on these lower vibrations, we will not be attracted to the higher vibration. So it's in our hand to decide where we will be tomorrow, next year, or maybe the end of many, many lifetimes.
Yeah, okay. When we look out at the world right now, does that make you want to work harder or do more videos? What is your take on what's happening right now on our planet? Are you seeing more people waking up? Like there's a beautiful opportunity out there. What are you sensing in our collective?
Both. A lot of people get drawn into the darkness. They're very attracted by the darkness because the darkness is very alluring with many, many things, which with the world has with all the technical gadgets and ideas from AI to whatever we have. And that is usually means pulling us away from ourselves, pulling us away to an outside source of entertainment, energy, etc. So a lot of this distraction we have. So a lot of people get caught in the distraction, and particularly when they don't want to deal with all the negativity that we now get consistently, particularly here in America through the news media. They block everything out and maybe like to get lost more and more in video games, whatever it may be. So there is that danger. There's also then the moment that through suffering, a lot of people wake up. And there is so much suffering in the world. I mean, needless to say, you just look around, and that may be one way for people to wake up. Other people become bitter through suffering, become even more bitter. So everybody has an individual path. Is there a greater awakening? I am not a judge of that one, which is say I only know what I've heard that more and more souls have incarnated here on planet Earth to help in the transition, like help us in a way, because the Earth is moving into a higher vibration, and that means that more negative events will take place, collapses of institutions, of countries, and so on. So we will maybe still going through some very rough times. And there have many, many souls incarnated here to anchor light as well as be there ready to help those who are very confused in these times. So the awakening, I'm not sure about the existing Earth population, but I do know that more souls have incarnated, particularly since the last 50, 60 years, to here to be, or Dolores Cannon calls it the third wave, who come here to assist in these darkening times. That's what I would feel. But whether the people generally wake up faster, I don't know. Whether I can't make that judgment.
Okay. It feels like we are in a pressure cooker to
Yes.
choose love, right? To choose love, to surrender to love. And
Yeah,
we've heard before that without pressure, there's no diamonds.
true.
So, wow. Okay. All right. Um, let's talk about reincarnation. You had mentioned that Jesus spoke of reincarnation. What do you know about that? Because we really miss that part, the majority of us.
Well, the original Christians, as well as the first 4 centuries of Christianity, the teachers all had reincarnation as part of their teachings. Origenes was one of the major leaders, and Christ taught reincarnation because reincarnation was not a strange thing to the Hebrew people at the time. Even today, we have got a lot of Jewish congregation who believe in reincarnation. Long time ago, it's part of the Jewish tradition. They believe in a lot of other things too. But some segments of the Jewish population believes in reincarnation, always did. Christ was no exception. He taught reincarnation. There are several, I wouldn't say hidden quotes in the Bible which refer to that. I made a special video, anybody interested, that Christ taught reincarnation, and I mentioned the Bible verses, which I can't recall offhand at the moment, which say that Christ asked his disciples, who do the people say I am? And they say, you are a reincarnated, that prophet, and so on, etc. So they obviously talked about reincarnation. And he spoke a very clear sentence, a very clear rule, which would make no sense whatsoever if there wouldn't be reincarnation. What we sow, we will reap. That is a fundamental teaching of Christ. How can we not reap? How can we reap when we die after being very selfish and then we die? And where is the reaping? There is no reaping. So the reaping has to take place somehow. And the reaping comes in many, many lifetimes. And for the most part, yeah, of course, we can also undo our karma in the spiritual realms, but it is much faster and easier here on the planet Earth. So Christ did speak reincarnation. Many, many spiritual paths mention that and know that. And in the teachings of Christ here, for instance, I've got here all these books here. The great cosmic teachings of Jesus of Nazareth to his apostles and disciples who could understand them. And this is a very thick book where he goes in great details, not only in reincarnation, but everything else, all the spiritual laws that he taught at the time. They are very helpful. So for me, there is no question. There will be always people who doubt this because it's much more convenient not to believe it. But for me, there is no question about it. And those are interested, they can watch my video on reincarnation. Christ taught reincarnation. It was not taken out by a pope. The pope didn't want to take that teaching out. It was taken out by an emperor in the 5th century, 6th century, who thought himself to be the ruler of the world, basically, of the Roman Empire. And he wanted that everybody believed in the salvation of the soul in the church. So nobody else could save you. You couldn't save yourself, which reincarnation basically implies. You can really cleanse yourself. No, you needed the priest, and he made that law. And that was very confusing for the church because now suddenly they couldn't really explain where the soul comes from, where it's going, and so on. All these big questions, where we come from, why we are here, and where we are going, are suddenly taken out by the teachings, by the artificial teaching that the soul is created at conception, and when it dies or goes maybe to heaven or to hell or eternal damnation, which nowhere mentioned in the Bible. All these things were later added because of this ruling of the emperor.
Who was that? Was that Constantine? Who was
No,
that?
no, it was, oh gosh, I hope you wouldn't ask me.
Oh, okay. It's all right.
It's
It's
in the
not a
video.
history test. Okay,
Uh,
so that's
no,
the first,
it's not Constantine, no, but I'm sorry, yes. I have to look it
um,
up.
so the reason why is for control.
Yes.
It's and why did the church accept it? Wow, because of powers that be. It's just the way it turned out. It's just the way it turned out.
He saw himself as the ruler of the church. He saw himself above the church. Therefore, he
Uh-huh.
couldn't. But the Pope, I know the Pope's name was Vigelagus, and he didn't want it, or didn't want to sign it because he knew the truth. But the emperor made sure that this was a law. It was decided in Constantinople, which is Istanbul today, at the year 500, I think, 59, on 8th of December or something like this, that suddenly this whole teaching of reincarnation was taken out. And the problem is that all Christian domination, which sort of evolved over the next century and more, all had this fault in them. Wherever you go to any kind of Christian church, they do not teach, I mean, the organized religions do not teach reincarnation. And they cannot answer the very question which I had as a young person: why am I here? Where do I come from? And where I'm going? And why do some people suffer and not suffer? And so they can't really answer that. They can waffle. And they come up with the exclusion: this is the great mystery of God. Whenever you ask a question like this, they come back and say, this is the mystery of God. It's not for us to know. BS.
Well, yes, this brings up a topic. I have friends, I know people in my life who are really into the church and and the dogma. Let's just call it the dogma, um, right? That God does want you to fear. And if you don't live by his word, you will go to hell. And that's like, we can see the hypocrisy of that. We can see how that is meant to control and put people in fear. So, wow.
Not only
Um,
in the Christian churches, in all other religions as well. They're all run by males, which is very important. And they put the woman always on second class, third class. Look to the Muslim belief, look to Afghanistan, look even in the Hebrew religions. Everywhere, the men are ruling and the women are second or third class. And it is all about fear and control. Yes, that's true.
All right. So as the divine feminine is back, coming back on this planet, do you think that's why we see some of the rise in the macho that's going on in the manosphere, I've heard it called, right? There's like what do you think we need to do to help the masculine step into their divine essence and accept? Do you think that will happen, or do you think it'll just be played out for people to choose one by one to choose love?
I don't know whether convincing or somebody else would change their insecurity, because we're talking about the insecurity, why somebody is a macho, why somebody is narcissist, and so on. These are driven, people are driven by fear. And fear is, it's difficult to take it away from them, which is if it's very ingrained in them. That's why changing a narcissist is nearly impossible in this lifetime. They may recognize definitely when they die and look back on their lives that this was probably not the best solution they had picked. But I don't know. I haven't given it much thought how the change will happen. I trust everybody is evolving in their own time, like good wine. It needs sometimes time. If I try to rush them, then it is very
Yeah,
often my ego who wants to push them. Oh, you must grow up. You must be
there
that,
you
because I
go.
am not accepting them as they are. If they wish to be very macho, very narcissist, in latter case, I stay away from them. But if they want to mutter this, that's fine. I let them be. They will learn the lesson. And
Okay.
if they want to find another way and ask me, I'm happy to tell them. But as long as I have a need to tell them you should change, then there's
Ah,
something wrong in me because I'm not
wow.
loving them, I'm not accepting them. That's how I see it at the moment.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And all light workers watching this, we have all light workers watching this.
Only.
You have really helped because mm, who's with me here? I sometimes get so eager to help people, but I love your take on it, Hans. It's so humble, it's non-judgmental, and you're allowing every person to be where they are. You're meeting them where they are, and you're not pushing them or you're not shooting on them, right? Like, oh, you
Let's put it
should do
that way. Let's
this.
put it, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's put it, I'm doing this in the good case, but there have been many moments when I just really have to tell our daughter or whatever it is how life should, how she should run their life. I'm not that walking on water
Okay.
yet, but I do know the answer, and I do know, and I remind myself, and I catch myself often enough. This is this is not your monkey. That's not your circus. So it's what I believe.
I love that. This is not my monkey, it's not my circus.
Yes.
Okay, well, there's a great circus going on in the media,
Hmm.
in the news, and it's not my monkey, it's not my circus. I tend to watch it so I can be informed, but I love that phrase. I'm going to adopt that. This is not my monkey, it's not my circus. I'm going to sit down on the bench and watch my own little circus. All right. All right, let's go back to Christ, Jesus Christ, and tell us what you know about his missing years, because that is fascinating. What do you think about that? Here we have a blending of the religions. Do you know about his missing years?
Many paths say about that he was in India and so on, and that may be true or not true. I do not have any information on that one. In the material which Christ gave us, he never speaks about that. And I think the reason why you call it a blending is because the truth is universal. If he speaks of reincarnation like they do in Asia, in the Buddhist, that's in universal. The truth is universal. Now, we may think this is Eastern truth or Greek truth, and he has been traveling around, but the truth is universal. That's why I believe that there was no need for him to travel internationally. He just knew all these things inwardly and intuitively and taught them and lived them. So, whatever we feel is an Eastern influence is truthful. It's quite amazing, and, Lauren. I get so many emails from India. I've got a huge group of people who are just India. They respond to that. It's obviously a Christian path which I'm speaking here about, but they all say yes, 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 and they're following. It makes total sense. So that's why I say the truth is international. It's beyond boundaries and beyond religions. And if Christ in his teachings, so why I understand them and I share them in my videos, is basically a universal truth. And therefore, I think it works for everybody in all kind of cultures.
Thank you. Yes. Love is that foundation. Wow. So love is it. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And we can talk about that, but I also would like you to talk about forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. What makes this so effective? Can you explain what's happening when we forgive ourselves and others? What is the dynamics of that?
Well, traditional forgiveness is, I think, not very helpful. In the traditional forgiveness, I say, you, Lauren, you hurt me a lot, but I'm a good guy now. I will forgive you. That is traditional forgiveness, which means I'm putting myself above you. In my this type of forgiveness implies judgment. You have sinned, you were bad, but I'm not good enough, and I will forgive you. There is a definitely no equality here, because that is traditional forgiveness, and that is not effective, because true forgiveness comes from a very different level. When we understand that everything in our life happens for us and not to us, as Byron Katie says, it changes everything. For instance, if a person comes to me and beats me, steals from me, hurts me, that person, in great likelihood, with few exception, I have arranged with that soul prior my incarnation to hurt me, to to steal from me, because for various reasons. Either I have stolen from him or he wants to wake something up in me. The whole universe is working on the law of attraction. If I am, for instance, somebody who steals or likes to have things from other people and so on, and even the thought as such is a vibration which comes out, which I send out all the time. And this is a negative thought. And that attraction attracts a thief coming to me. And that thieves eventually will steal from me because they are expressing what I am suppressing or what I may be doing to other people. The outside world is nothing but a reflection of me. So all the negative people who do some harm to me are basically reflections of myself, either of suppressed desires and wishes or overtly acted out desires and wishes. So the person who comes to me and harms me in one way or the other is nothing else than an angel in disguise. And when it's an important big thing, most likely we have made this agreement prior our incarnation, a soul contract that says, I have a problems with honesty and so on, and I really want to learn it in this lifetime. Can you be the one who really challenges me on my honesty? So when I'm suddenly 35, I meet a person who is really screwing me in my business, taking everything from me and screws me like I have been dishonest in previous lifetimes. So I said, oh my God, this is horrible what he has done. For the first time, I feel what it means to be stolen from and to be somebody else being dishonest. He is helping me for my soul to wake up, to experience the pain I have given many others in this or previous lifetimes. So that person is here to do a service to me. And when I forgive that person, I forgive on a totally different angle than the old-fashioned forgiveness. I no longer put myself above him. I forgive him for what he done because our soul contract is now done. It's over. Can be friends again. It's really done. I'm not better than he is because I realize he merely was mirroring myself back to me. And I think that's a very important point. Now, one thing is very important here as well to consider. This all affects only people who hurt me in one way or the other. If I hurt another person, it's slightly different story. The reason is because the other person doesn't know this law, doesn't know that maybe we have made a contract in a previous lifetime and I'm here to execute it. So for him, to him, I have to go. If I've hurt another person, I have to ask for his forgiveness. He has to release me from his consciousness. I have to offer amends if I can. He has to release me. Because if I do not get his forgiveness, we are bound together in many lifetimes before, either in the spiritual realms or even lifetimes are later, until the deed is totally forgiven from both sides. So I tie myself to the person. And forgiveness is, of course, something to set myself free. Somebody said this wonderful thing: if we don't forgive or don't want to forgive, it's like pulling, dragging an anchor behind you while it's running a marathon. I like that line. It is something that holds us back. So it's important to forgive, but not from a superior level, but understanding that there are no coincidences. Everything happens here for me. That I have been stolen from, that somebody damaged my car, that my wife ran away with another husband or with another person. All this is only for me to wake up. It has nothing to do with the other person, really. It is for me to wake up to see my own pattern within myself and forgive the other person and myself. That was pretty long. I'm sorry.
No, it
But
really, all right, very good, very important what you share because, wow, we can see the healing. All right, so it really is clearing up that karmic tie. So
yes,
let's talk more about karma. You had mentioned that we can do karma cleanup on the other side of the veil, but the lifetimes where that comes from. So we are here then to truly understand what you just shared, that life happens for us and that we are not a victim in
never,
any sense, that we are
never.
actually. So how does that, wow, does that make you feel better? That should make us all feel more empowered and and help us manifest better, like help us really steer our consciousness into creation mode instead of blaming and being a victim.
Yes, you're
Wow.
absolutely right, Lauren. However, our ego usually doesn't want to accept that we are never a victim. Our
All
ego
right.
thrives on the fact that I'm a victim. Look how bad the other guy is. I get so much energy from you for feeling sorry and sympathy from you. So yes, if a person has a certain awareness, a certain consciousness, then understand that we can never be a victim because everything happens for us. But most people will say, "Oh, but look at the people in Gaza, look at the people in the Ukraine, etc. They're all victims. They're all victims." Are they? I am not here to judge and understand the individual karma of each person, but victimization is something which is an interpretation of something which happens, of which we do not know the whole picture. And instead of us now judging the victimizer and the victim as such, let us look at this thing and see what does the situation. Here's the victimizer, he is the victim. What does this situation, which I see on television right now, the bad guy, the good guy, what does this mean for me? What emotions come from this dynamic of these two kind of forces? What am I? Am I identified with that one or with that one? What does it want to tell me? That's the reason why I am exposed to these to conflicts around me, so that I discover who I am. And I can bless and love the one who is in me and who is waking up. But many people find it very difficult to let go of their victim identification because they think they will lose all the energy they drain from other people by being continuously the one everybody feels sorry for. But you're
Yes.
absolutely right. If we don't believe in victimhood, we are in charge. We are always in charge from moment to moment. It can very be empowering to understand that, and can be very empowering that everything around us happens for us, and we don't have to be afraid of anything, even in the worst situation. Even that is. Byron Katie had this wonderful line. It says, "If this horrible situation in which you are right now would be the only way to return home back to God, would you take it?" And I think in that question is the answer that we can actually bear a lot more than we think we are capable of bearing.
Yeah, yeah, we limit ourselves so easily. Um, it's so easy to believe more in the doubt that we carry rather than in the trust of our soul. Wow, how do we flip that? How do we really truly overcome that and flip it to make friends with the ego, to believe more in trusting the universe than the doubt that may creep up?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and I'm not a shrink, so I can only say I trust and I know about the divine presence, God or Christ within me, and nothing stronger than that. And I communicate with them as whenever I have a chance in the morning, the evening, during the day, uh, and talking and being aware that I have got these energies. I also have my guardian spirits. Right now, they're here. And they are there not to fulfill all my wishes and dreams, but to maybe tap me on the shoulder when I go off track. So I do have this incredible amount of spiritual help, and every other human being has that too, because we are all spirit beings, and we all have this force. And if we trust that force and use this force and ask this force, communicate with this force, there is nothing stronger than that. And this over time gives, I think, a lot of confidence because oh my God, if I think about how often I have been sort of sick, or maybe the weather, or flu, or whatever it is, and put all my energy into the trust that Christ can help my body as well, my soul and body, and the healing which comes from that rather fast. And surprisingly, I have had so many instances like that, and also in other ways, when one really starts communicating with these inner support forces, more and more experiences give us more and more surety, and we feel more comfortable about it. So, but this does not mean that I will not have times of despair or fear as well. I always fall back. I'm a human being. But that's why I make the video. I
Mm.
watch my own videos to remind myself it's not so bad out there. It's okay. Pull through. So, yes, I'm a human being. And we also, our emotions, our thought patterns very often go up and down, and we get locked into some stupid ideas, stupid thoughts. And unless somebody taps us on the shoulder and says, come on, where are you? You're not here. If you're here right now, everything is fine. You are somewhere in the future or in guilt in the past. But in the here and now is the only time, and always when everything is fine. And another word for God is now, as Byron Katie says. And I like that very much. And it's true. So when I'm truly here and now, then I'm in God. Then I'm also in the fullness of God. God is fullness. But I can only experience fullness, God's fullness in the now.
I love that. I love that. Thank you to Byron Katie. The another
Oh,
word for God is now. Okay.
she
I
is a
do love
miracle.
that.
Yeah,
And presence. No wonder it's just presence. There is no problem in the present, as Eckhart Tolle would say.
definitely.
And I said that to my dogma Christian friends, and they just joke, but they get it. And this is a way that we can get in, and we can
Mhm.
make our way in with cute little bits of truth like that,
Yeah.
universal truth like that. All right, how can we? Everyone wants to communicate with their guides and angels and beings in the illumined realms. How can we build this within ourselves? Do you have a protocol? What do you think is necessary to make a strong, intimate connection?
Well, Christ in his teachings, the one I'm following, is mentions very clearly, speak to me. I'm here for you. I'm in you. I've got the Christ spark. Anybody interested in the Christ spark, I have a video on that one. Everybody has that. So we all have the connection. I don't, I'm sorry, something in my throat. Anyway, um, we have Christ always with us, present. And we also have the guardian spirit. Whether you want to communicate with the guardian spirit, the thing is that when we is something bothering us, something we need help or clarification, it is always the best to speak with the highest source. And for me, it's Christ or God. godfather, which you would say. So I would always go to the top boss. I wouldn't go to any of the archangels or anything like this, because there are so many archangels out there who pretend to be archangels and they speak to many different mediums, and there are some of them are well-meaning and some of them are not. So I would not go to any other than God, and it's in me. I don't need another person for that. And we can do this in our chamber, as Christ suggests. When you pray, speak to me quietly in your own chamber. We can do it loud. I always like that and emphasize this if there's something really bothering you, or also if your heart is overflowing of gratefulness, which I think is the most powerful way for us to center ourselves. Speak it out, say it, verbalize it, and have this dialogue. And I think the more one does it, the more one feels confident that one is also heard. I don't know, sometimes we get answers to our questions, to images, to words, to phone calls, whatever. People give there are a lot of stories about that. But I just know that I am loved. I'm in the presence of divinity. I'm a presence of Christ, and I can come to them all the time, anytime, whether it's in the car, wherever I'm, or walking, and so on. They are always there. And that is for me enough. I don't want to have any spiritual experience. I don't ask for the spiritual experiences to strengthen my belief. I just know that they are there. And in cases like right now, when we are talking, I am very confident that I've got some help with you, both of us. You have that as well, and our communication here is of a high vibration because I feel we are both somehow protected. Because the thing is that there are a lot of negative entities out there who want to suck our energies, and if we put ourselves in this white light bubble for protection, I find it extremely helpful. So easily we can be misguided by these negative forces. I've made a lot of videos on this one, on spirit possession and so on. They are unfortunately out there, and they can do a lot of harm, and we can get lost with them and in them and in their alluring kind of temptations.
Okay, so let's talk about let's go a little deeper there. Because the more light we are, the more we attract the dark, right? Or the more flies, for example, or the more moths. So, yeah, I don't know. What would you say to that?
No,
Because
I don't know whether that is true. I've heard that. I know what you mean. And of course, you are the juiciest kind of plum for them to milk. But if you are on high vibration, they are not usually that easy to connect with us. The higher your vibration, the higher you evolve, I would say you become theoretically almost invisible to them.
that's it. Okay, all right. So raising our vibration. All right. So it's not going to attract negative entities. All right.
They will
Because our
always
vib
fight for you. They will always fight for you, but you probably are a little bit less chances that they get hold of you, particularly if you're on low vibration, like you feel lonely, depressed, and so on. These are wonderful vibrations where they just jump on you, just like
wow.
yeah, yeah. But
And
on
the
a very
spiral downward, that's the spiral downward because it's just
self-pity. Yeah, the self-pity. Once they have you in your self-pity, they really have you. Self-pity is sort of one of the lowest emotions. It's very difficult to get out of. But that's what they want. Feel sorry for yourself because nobody else takes care of me or worries about me. But self-pity is the
mm,
one thing they get and so on. Look, feel sorry for yourself. You're in a very bad situation. And that is usually, in many cases, a sign that the negative forces have really taken over. But there are many ways to get off them, so it's not end of the world. We can always let go of them. We can always ask for divinity, Christ, to help us to free ourselves from these things. Sometimes we need a real spirit remover to do that. In very serious cases like very strong addiction, that is possible. But but they are there. Yeah, they are here in this world, and we are surrounded by them all the time because they're invisible, and we think they are not existing. And but they do unfortunately exist, and wherever they find a juicy kind of prune, a plum, or whatever, they are just easily to get there, and they take it, they enjoy actually us to suffer because suffering in any form creates an energy which we ooze out, the loosh energy, and that is their juice of which they are living. And that's why they are so interested in create wars and so on. Imagine, I mentioned Gaza, Ukraine, and so on. These are huge fields of energy that comes from these suffering multitudes of people. And that's what these negative energies live off. That's why they are always instigators of war. Behind every person's leader of a country who wants to go to war are the negative forces. Says, yes, do it, do it, do it, because we are getting then our juice. Because they have to, they don't have any more juice left for themselves. There's the only living juice that to live of energy is the Lush energy, which they steal from us. And that's why the goal is to really influence us in a negative way so that we feel depressed and send out these negative energies, which they feed on.
Keeps us in that vicious cycle. All right. So, all right, let's talk about then broadcasting a better signal, broadcasting a manifesting signal, interfacing with the quantum field. What is the energy behind it? Again, we're coming back into the heart. The heart and love is everything. Can you share about how we can walk in the world with that vibration and confidence that we are creating our reality?
The understanding that we are creating our reality is very helpful. And also, I believe it's very helpful to know that we are never, ever, 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 ever alone. Wherever we are always supported. I think these are the very strong things. And the positive energies want us to succeed. And the other thing is, I think, to consider is that life here on earth, as difficult as it may be for many people, is a tremendous gift. There are far more souls who wish to incarnate to undo their karma in this fast time than there are actually physical human bodies. So for you and me and everybody else, having had the opportunity to incarnate here for those 28,000 days, which is an average lifetime, it's very, very short, is a very unique opportunity. So let's not throw that away. I know it's very difficult. A lot of people want to get out of this life because it's very difficult and they cannot really see that it has any purpose or they have any hope or any future. I can fully understand that because life is very difficult and will get more difficult even. But we have to understand why we are here, which means basically undo our karma and on to learn to laugh again, and that we are never alone, that we are supported. And the fact that we don't understand the confusing situation we find ourselves in is largely because every time we incarnate, we forget our past lifetimes. And therefore, we cannot really make sense out of the difficult situation that I'm facing right now. But there are no coincidences. Everything has a purpose, and the purpose is for all of us at any given time to wake up, to come home. And it's all medicine, as Byron Katie again says. Everything is medicine. Everything is here to help us. So these understandings, I would say, can help us to move forward. And one of the most important one thing is to be aware that we can always communicate with upstairs or within myself. And if we find it difficult to get there, always remember that for me, the best vibration to get into this communication field is gratefulness. Immediately think of 5 things I'm grateful for right now. I have a body, I've got have food, etc. I've got shelter, I've got friends, I've got a lot of this stuff, and I've got everything what I really need. And I'm deeply grateful. I'm grateful for the computer. I'm grateful for to meet you. I'm thousand things here. I can non-stop grateful. The moment I do this, I increase all the chemicals in my brain and I totally change my whole aura vibration. And everything becomes much clearer, much better when instead of being stuck in the illusion of lack. I am now in the affirmation that I have basically everything because I see all the stuff and all the wonderful stuff I have at the moment for which I am deeply grateful. And gratefulness is like a shield protecting us from negative energy. So gratefulness, I think, is probably one of the most important and fastest tool we can use to get out from a negative emotion to a positive, more positive emotion.
All right. Thank you for that, Hans, because we are all looking right now and reflecting. We're grateful, 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 grateful. That's so beautiful. Okay, as we wrap up our conversation, I'd like you to share any final thoughts about this whole big journey here, why we're here. You did say we're here to undo our karma and to become aware of the love. It's almost as if we've moved so far away from love that it's all just to come back to love. Final thoughts on all of this.
Let's not be fooled by the surround what we find on the news when you say being so away from love. I think the average person is pretty close to love, and closer than they dare to think. The outside world looks chaotic at the moment, and it's really frightening what you can see on the medias and so on. But I think the love is in us so strongly. It is in our family, it is in our friend circles, and so on. And but I think it's much easier to access than we ever give it credit, than we think it is. So the love is in us, the love is there. This love is what we are. Gratefulness is a step to feel this love in a way, and we are never alone. I think these are basically the cornerstone to get through the next day. We are never alone, and everything is in the now. And if the fullness or whatever we need, whatever we ever even want to have, is in the now. And there is a fullness, and that is where God is, and this is where we are, where we have everything that we need. Not always what we want or desire or crave for, but what we need, we always have.
So incredibly comforting. And that's what makes you a beautiful spiritual teacher. You're doing a wonderful job, Hans. Keep up the really great work. Keep making those videos. And again, I want to direct everyone to lifeexplained.com. Find Hans Wilhelm on YouTube, subscribe to his videos, and learn the beautiful wisdom that is universal truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Hans Wilhelm.
You, Lauren, it was a delight and honor to have met you and talk with you. Thank you for having invited me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We hope that you are enlightened and empowered. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.